Alright. Hello, Woolly Gamer community. This is Gamer Dunrick. Lately, I have been getting into Star Citizen and Elite Dangerous with a couple of my friends, and so I went out and upgraded my Hotas. My first Hotas was the T-Flight Hotas X, which was the Hotas I got back probably about 10 years ago now. It was the Hotas I was using for my PS3 when I got I believe it was Ace Combat, one of the Ace Combats, and then it was useful for PC, so I was able to use it for Elite Dangerous and Star Citizen on PC. Um, the thing that I really loved about that Hotas is that it had a center detent in it. That's just where it would go back to center and stop for you. So that was good because in games like Star Citizen and Elite Dangerous, you can use your full range of throttle for forward and reverse motion. So that center detent would stop me at 0, and then I could go backwards for reverse and forward for moving forward. I didn't like that um, Hotas because the thruster was like floppy. There was no firmness to it, so you could just push it all the way forward, push it all the way back, and kind of fine tuning your thrust was a bit hard. And then also there was not enough buttons on it. It's a very low budge Hotas, so I believe I got that for like 75 bucks brand new back when I bought it back then, because it was just the very basic Hotas that I could get. Um, and I really didn't know yet that I was going to have much use for it. But lately, now that I've been getting into Star Citizen and Elite Dangerous, I wanted to upgrade my Hotas setup. So I got myself the X56 Rhino. That's right here. I got this used off of eBay. I was lucky in that I got a good X56 Rhino. This is the first iteration too, as you could tell, because it's got that 80s blue neon futuristic look to it. Um, and it's got like, that's distressed by default, by the way. I didn't like overly do that. That's that distressed painting there job. That's their setup for this controller because they want to make it like look used and stuff. So yeah, so this is a very good controller because you can see there's a lot of buttons and knobs that you could push there. There's also some toggle switches at the bottom here, which are useful for games like Elite Dangerous and um, oops, wrong side. There we go. There's sport toggles. There's knobs. So like this was a really good Hotas for me because it's got a lot of buttons and all the buttons I could ever want in a my space sim. The problem with this throttle though is that it does not have the center detent like my T-Flight Hotas X does. Um, so let me just unwrap the USB cable. Okay. And so this has a really nice feeling throttle to it. If you could see, it takes a little bit of force to push it forward, a little bit of force to pull it back. So it's got a really nice feel to it because it doesn't just flop back and forth. Um, but the problem is there's no, like if you can see, there is no stopping point between all the way forward and all the way back. So I'm either full on or full off, and um, in games like Elite Dangerous or Star Citizen, then it gets hard to find that central point, that stopping point, that differentiates between forward thrust and reverse thrust. So you have to create like a dead zone in the software to get that to work properly. But so that's one of the things there, and then um, from there I went ahead and moved on to my X52 Hotas. And well, maybe I could just show you here. Let me go ahead and move the camera so you guys can see. what I have setting up here. So this is my X52. Notice my shelf of goodies there. There's my gaming laptop that's sitting unused. So this is my X52 Hotas, and I really like this Hotas because it sits well in the hand and it kind of fits perfectly. I got the Pro version. I really got it just because the finish of the Pro version just looks much better than the non-Pro version, and also it's got more functionality for the MFTs here. And I don't know, I preferred the Pro because it was a little bit like a little bit better made, better quality. So I went with the Pro with that. And one of the things that I disliked about this Pro was that the spring was way loose. Like this would flap around easily, right? And so I found on eBay a solution that actually made that spring way tighter for me, and I only used even the lowest adjustment that was available for it. So I went on eBay and got this from TerraVestra. Do you see that? It's the spring plate kit for the Cytec X52, X52 Pro. He sends you 3 of these plates, which are pretty awesome. There's also a YouTube video that tells you how to use this tool. So this tool allows you, or helps you to put on the plate, and it comes in 3 flavors. You have the 4mm flavor right there. Can it zoom in on that? It's not liking to zoom. Hold on. You cannot see it, but it says 4mm right there. Maybe if I hold it far enough away. There you go, 4mm. And we also have the 6mm variety. So here's the 4. Whoops, there's the 6 right there. This is the 4. And then of course the third one that I already have installed is the 2mm. So the very thinnest tension adjustment that he sends is the one that I really like on my X52 Pro. I mean, it just makes the throttle feel so much stiffer. And I noticed that this was a 3D printed solution. So TerraVestra has a 3D printer. So back to my X56, when I was doing some research online, I noticed that there was some guy that made a 3D printed solution for the center detent, and I just don't have a 3D printer, so I wasn't able to apply that solution. So I contacted TerraVestra to see if he could make me the 3D printed center detent for the X56 Rhino. And so he went ahead and printed it for me and sent it to me. So this is the first part that goes on the thruster. This is a little tab part that locks it against one of the metal frames in the back. And then he also, because he's worried that this is going to be a highly used piece that's going to wear out very quickly, he sent me 2 of them. So that now I have 2 of these that'll go insert into the thruster to catch on this little latch on the central part of hopefully the motion of the thruster. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and install it. I'm going to move some stuff around. I will show you here. So this main piece here just sits right here like so. Alright. So it sits like that. And you can see right there how it's sitting on the thruster. And then this little piece that I was telling you about, it actually locks this back piece onto this little black rail here so that it doesn't move. So we're going to head and do that real quick. As you can see, it kind of locks it in place down there. See that? So now it's not going to adjust and move around because we want it to be locked down, so that we can do this mod, which I'm super excited about, because if this works, so this 3D print was for an X55, which is the old version of the Rhino, but I'm hoping it still fits just the same on the X56. And one of the things that I am noticing right now is that this little piece right here, this little nub, might be too long, so I'm going to need to shave off some of that. Because if you can see here, when it's sitting on this side here, you could see that little gap right there. So I want this to sit down a little bit more flush, I believe, so that it clips in place in both the front and the back. But everything else looks to be perfect in the way it lines up. So let me just make sure, or maybe it's just me. I might not have clipped it to the right area, because I think now it actually did clip down. Yeah, that was just me. As you can see now, it didn't clip down in the front here, so you gotta like push this in to have it kind of clip in, and then the back kind of clips in the back as well, and then you just use this little black piece to have it sit in place. Okay, so with that done, and then on the front of the throttle here, you will see that there's these little holes. And basically that's where this little nub piece goes. So you just kind of like insert that piece into the little nub hole. Go ahead and do that, and then I'll show you afterwards how it looks. Oops, there it goes. There you go. And that now has snapped in place. You can see right there where it sits, and then if I push this forward, it'll land right on that little detent right there, and then it stops for me. Then you can push it all the way forward after that. Now I'm holding it with one hand. This is a very stiff throttle, so it's hard for me to do this, but it really just clicks right into place, which is nice. Right there. Clicked right into the center detent. And then back, and then forward. Yeah, clicks right into the center detent. So yeah, I mean, looks like it works perfectly. I'm going to take it apart and then show you guys exactly what I was doing, because it was kind of hard doing it down there while you guys were not watching. So let me go ahead and take this apart real quick, and then I can show you guys how to exactly do it if you decide that this is the solution for you. And for those of you with 3D printers, you can totally do this on your own. I just don't have a 3D printer, so I couldn't do it on my own. So let's go ahead, and I have to take off this little sliding piece so that I can show you how to put that back on. Unlock this and take this off. Okay. Let's go ahead and move the camera down so we can see exactly what I'm doing here. Here we go. Maybe a little bit higher, huh? Just so we can see something. Here we go. So here is our thruster. Take this little black piece here, and this little curve piece goes over this little curve, and then this back piece right here goes back here so that we can hook it into this metal piece. So basically just slide it in like that. Okay, and then the front kind of clips and holds the little front here. If you can see here, this little piece here kind of just clips in right there, right where it bends in. So if you can hear me push it down a little bit, you can hear it kind of click in place. Hold on a second while I try to click it in place. There. Did you hear that click? So let me do that again. So we are going to be, I think I need to raise the back end of the camera just a bit so that you guys can see a little bit more of what I'm doing. There you go. So right here, this little piece here, once I have it sitting in place here, we want this front piece to click in. So basically we just kind of push it down and it'll click. So you hear that? It went click. And then back here, there's little end here that like clicks down in place down here. But that made me click up in the front. So let me do both. And then actually, let me do the back first, because there's a couple little areas in the back here. Let me show you real quick. So you see those little notches? Those fit in right down here. So if you push down, they kind of lock in place down here. There you go. So those are locked in place. And then now we push it in the front, and the front locks in place. There you go. Now it's okay if it pops back up. I noticed that because I put this piece on last, this little piece, it'll hold down the front end. So let's go ahead and lock the back in place. Now that I have that kind of set up there, let me just show you this piece of it. So on this piece, the long end, which is this end right here, goes underneath this arm right here. Whoops, let me go right here. Goes underneath here. The short end goes underneath here so that you don't lock this toggle switch. So let me show you how to put that in. So here it is. The long piece goes in the back, and then you just twist the back so that it locks in place there. See that? And then now the front kind of pops out a little bit. If you could see here, it just popped. Then I just pop it back down. Don't worry about that so much, because this guy will hold it in place. So now let's go look in the front, and I'll show you how this puts in place. So basically what we want to do is we want to just have this positioned in this manner like that, and then it'll slide right into this, this hole right here. That's the screw hole. We're just using that to hold it in place so that we can have this detent working for us. So we just go ahead and slide it in, and then you see that, and it'll hook right into that hole there as we push this back. Hold on just a second while I push back. Yeah, right there. So I got to push back a little bit harder, and you could see, you could see on the back it'll hook in right there at the bottom. You'll see it hook in once I put it in. So it's not all the way in yet. I got to push it back a little bit more. There you go. You hear that click? And now if you look over here, you could see that it now has whoops, hold on, here. It now has that little knob that's holding on in the back of the controller. And so now, when we move the throttle, it'll click into that center detent. Right there, clicked into the center detent. Then we can move forward, move back, clicked into the center detent, and then move back. So now I have a center detent for my controller, and I didn't have to do any mods to it. Perfect. It's exactly what I was looking for. Now if this is still kind of a little bit raised, let's look. It doesn't look like it's raised at all anymore actually now that I'm pushing down on it. So looks like it's flush on there, so it works perfectly. I understand TerraVestra's concern about this plastic piece becoming worn out over time because of the whole, having to, oops, sorry about that folks, sorry about that. Because of the having to catch on to this, having to catch on to the back of the, having to catch on to the bottom here. As you can see, there's this little center detent piece is where it kind of latches onto. There is an upgrade to this where you can replace this little piece here with a little metal piece on the bottom there so that it lasts longer. And then this part right here in the middle, the one that like flexes to pop into place, you could put a little spring in there so that it pushes down into that center detent even nicer. But right now, with this being brand new, it's perfect for me. I'm loving that center detent. So I guess now the one thing to check would be to go into the game settings or the controller settings and to see if this center detent is actually catching at the 0 point of the controller. And if we do, then it is perfect. So let me go ahead and work on that. We now have our controller all set up. Let me bring my keyboard back over and we will work on getting this screen up and running, and we can see whether or not we have a good center detent location. Okay, so let me go ahead and share my desktop. There's my desktop. Alright, let's go ahead and minimize all the other stuff I have running. And let's just run the joystick configuration tool. Which I have just used earlier. Oh, whoops. Of course it doesn't work because it's not plugged in. Let's go ahead and plug in our throttle. Right now I'm only plugging in the throttle because I'm looking to check to see whether or not this throttle is working properly. So I'm okay with just having the throttle right now. And there it is, X56 Rhino throttle. You probably can't see that, it's super small on the screen here. But here we go. So we have the throttle in the center detent position, and then we push it back. It's now max. Push it forward. That's the center location there. Push it way forward. That's 0. 511 out of 1023. Let's do the math on that. $511.5. So we are right at the center detent position, folks. So right there, that's where my center detent lies, and then boom, center detent, boom, perfect. That's what we want right there. So the next step would be to go ahead and test this out in game. I'm not going to do that now. I just wanted to make sure that I got this setup hooked up and put in place, because I told TerraVestra, since he was nice enough to make this center detent for me, I told him that I would go ahead and make sure I made a video for him so that he could show it to other people who might want to purchase this from him, because it's such an awesome and easy solution to just have this be available, because you're not doing anything. You're not taking apart your throttle or anything. You're just adding this little 3D printed piece, and it adds a little bit of friction, right? Because there's a little bit more between the throttle and the motion, but I mean, that friction is negligible to me. I have this set at the loosest setting, and it was always very tight throttle to begin with, but I think that even with this 3D printed item on there, it's not horrible. It feels, let me show the motion of the throttle here. So there's the throttle right there. Okay, so if you can see this, I have to hold this down because if you could see, I put some little Velcro tape on the bottom. That's how I actually have it sitting on my stands. But so it slides on the desk now without anything. But if I hold it down, you can see the throttle kind of just moves easily, and then goes into the center detent, and then it moves easily again. Center detent, and then moves easily again. I mean, there's a little bump there, but it's the sliding piece. There's not that much friction there, right? So it just sits in the detent and then pulls back. Now the true test will be when I have it on my stands. Right now I have my X52 on my stands because that was the newest Hotas that I just purchased. I'm very happy with the X52 Hotas. A lot less buttons than my X56, so which is why I want to work on the X56. And then also this thruster has the same problem. Ooh, excuse me. This thruster has the same problem where it doesn't have a center detent. So now that I have a center detent for my X56 Rhino, which I'm super stoked about. See that? You see how that hooks in place there? Let's go ahead and turn it a bit, and just show it in its final positioning. I mean, this looks pretty awesome, and it's perfectly printed to be that center detent is right on that center line, so that there is no question that I am right at 0 there. So that is perfect. That is what I wanted. That is what I got. Thank you, TerraVestra, for 3D printing this for me. And this is proof that your 3D printed center detent works on the X56 Rhino. I have the first iteration, the light blue iteration. In the near future, I will be purchasing the X56, the Logitech version, which is the newest version, which is supposed to have cleared up a lot of the issues that came with the old blue X56, even though I have no problems with my old blue X56. I do want to get the newer version just to make sure that I have the latest and greatest item out there. Yeah, so if you could see, these are my Hotas stands that I kind of created. These are actually speaker stands, desktop speaker stands. And if you could see at the very bottom, the base is small, so I added some acrylic. Hold on, let me show you this real quick because this is pretty cool. Let me just hold on a second while I grab the wiring so I could show you guys this awesome hack job that I did on this stand. Okay. Okay, so this stand has a little loop on the bottom here, if you could see that. And that loop is supposed to be where you put in the little spikes that hold it down into the ground. Well, underneath that loop I put in this little acrylic rod that I got from eBay. Or not eBay, sorry, Amazon. And basically what that rod does is it increases the floor, the amount of base that hits the floor, so that it doesn't wiggle as much whenever I use the thruster or the joystick, so that it provides a more stable support down there. So yeah, so that's what I did there, and these are basically just let me go ahead and take the X52 off of this so I could show you. That was the wrong one. I'm going to be putting the X56 on anyways to test the new mod. Okay, there it is. That's what I was looking for, was the name of the stand. I'm going to put this over here. Okay, and so this is basically just a Vivo desktop speaker stand. Basically, that's a VIVO, but I put Velcro on it so that I can Velcro my Hotas to it. So, yeah, I don't have the high end Hotas setups that some people have with their rigs. So basically, I made do with having my my stands be homemade with my Velcro Velcro tape holding it in place. So so yeah, so that was it. This is the 3D printed throttle center detent, and it works perfectly. As far as the software is concerned, it stops right at 511, which is right in the middle of the range for the thruster. And the next video I will be showing how it works in game. So thank you guys for joining me, and thanks very much to TerraVestra for making me this 3D printed centered detent. It's awesome. It's what I've been looking for. And yeah, so that's that. I will be back on later, and I will show you guys how the center detent works in game. Anyways, thank you guys for watching, and have a good one.